Joining me today is Wanita Hutchinson, Project Manager, Queensland Clinical Placement System, Clinical Education and Training Queensland, part of Queensland Health, who'll be speaking at IIR's Clinical Training and Workforce Planning Summit, which takes place on the 29th to 30th of August 2011 in Melbourne. Wanita, thanks very much for you joining me today.
Thank you.
First of all, how has Queensland developed a clinical placement system for professional entry health students?
It's been done through, I guess, a very collaborative approach, really, across the state. So this is a statewide solution that we're looking at that's being governed by Queensland Health at the moment, but really looks at partnerships between Queensland Health, the Private Hospital Association, and education providers, so the universities based here, the TAFE Queensland Institute, and partner universities that place students in Queensland from New South Wales as well. There's been a lot of work done over the last year to 18 months across a number of disciplines, so nursing and midwifery, allied health, oral health, and medicine, in terms of trying to determine what our need is really for clinical training for students to come into the profession in the future. It's been driven a lot by workforce needs. Nursing midwifery have chosen to lead on that because they are a significant proportion of the workforce here in Queensland, and we have such a high throughput of students through the different professional courses. So there's been a lot of work in multidisciplinary forums at a strategic level through key professional leaders meetings to discuss what the training needs are for the state, work out the best way to improve the way that we do our business now, which is really where the focus has come from, really about people, process and technology. But really the mandate has been agreed by the Director General here in Queensland, and really is reinforced by the project sponsor, because we have corporate sponsorship from our Executive Director for Clinical Workforce Planning and Development here in the state, and then obviously our Senior Director here at ClinEdQ, who has the local hands-on knowledge and day-to-day management of the role, so that helps collaborate everybody's interests, really.
And what were some of the major hurdles that you had to overcome in instigating the scheme?
I guess some of the challenge in the diversity with the different disciplines. Obviously each discipline has its own uniqueness, strengths and qualities. The variance in training models and programs has been one of the key things, really, that's potentially put in some delay with the project, as well as created opportunities for, I guess, information sharing, really an opportunity for the business to look at what we do well, areas that we could potentially improve upon within each discipline as well as across, when we're looking at some of the similarities that exist in the way that we do our business, and really provided an opportunity to bring different professional leaders together to look at how we can bring some harmony really to what we're doing here in Queensland to get a better outcome. So to be more organised about our clinical training activities, to coordinate the business so we can streamline it a lot more and make it less labour intensive for our clinical placement coordinators and or placement officers that do the work on the coalface, both in health and education. And really also to create some general understanding on both sides of the fence between health and education about the different demands of service, sometimes the different focuses and priority areas that don't always complement each other, and how we could work together to better improve those relationships.
And what partnerships did you engage between people, business processes and technology to actually get this scheme off the ground in the first place?
But that's all thanks to my my Commander-in-Chief, as I call him, so our current Acting Nursing Director of Education here at ClinEdQ for Nursing and Midwifery, Kevin Clark, who is also speaking at the conference about clinical placement capacity building and capability across the workforce, was here in the first part of the project with another project manager, and they really did a lot of work around business analysis, talking with the key stakeholders across nursing and midwifery to look at really what it is that the business wanted to achieve, where were some of the gaps, some of the holes, areas that really may never have been addressed, and where were some of the strengths that we could leverage from. From that, an expert reference group was formed, which was a statewide group, and it had representation from all the Queensland-based universities, a number of representatives across TAFE Queensland institutes, Aged Care Queensland, the Private Hospital Association Queensland, clinical placement coordinators from Queensland Health. And that was governed by ClinEdQ here in the project team. And that was really an opportunity to look at some of the partnerships and synergies and really look at the key principles really to try and drive this body of work forward. So that group has come up with a lot of good information and hands-on user-friendly data really about clinical placement coordination, which is what the project has established some of its principles on in terms of equity, sustainability, collaborative approach to clinical placement business between health and education, transparency, and communication, I believe, was the key one. And we'll talk about those a bit more really at the conference because they've underpin the work that's happened across the two projects, so the one that I'm leading on as well as the one that Kevin and Alan Love have also participated in and led on that body of work here. So that's really emphasised the people, the business process and the technology and how each one has its own uniqueness but how they complement each other as well. But really in Queensland tried to focus a lot more on the business process and letting that drive the development of the technology rather than the other way around, really trying to coordinate and streamline what we do so it's done in a more centralised fashion where possible, particularly in some of the regional and metropolitan areas where the model's been a lot more diverse because of service need generally. So that's really helped bring around some wins for the business and help areas look at local impacts and benefits that they're trying to realise at the moment, and then towards the end of the project it'll look a lot greater overall for the organisation.
And how important was business analysis in designing the system?
Pretty key, I think, in particular when we talk about physically building. So now we're in the throes of development and we rely heavily on the software requirements that we've developed, and those have really been derived from documenting how both health and education providers currently do the business of organising clinical placements. So we've started with a high-level analysis that was run by the analysis team here within our integration office as part of information division. The business analysts spent some time with the business, meeting with stakeholders, talking to them really to flesh out the key process issues, pain points as they refer to them in the analysis term, which are just areas that have potential opportunity to be refined in some way to improve a process. And that's been used to help build on the operational business rules and processes that we use as well as the technology ones. So at the moment we're at a much more detailed level than we were this time last year, and we've gone into even further detail in terms of refining operational business process. So we actually have an external consultancy company that's helping us with that at the moment. End users really found that useful because we normally, when we as a project team go out and meet with our stakeholders, talk a lot more about the business process, where people are up to now, the journey that some areas have taken, the journey that some areas may have still in front of them, and what are some of the lessons learned really that can help them navigate that. So it's been really useful business analysis being part of this process, and I think it's quite difficult to design a system that's fit for purpose and will meet the end needs of the stakeholders if you don't do that work well. I think a lot more time and money can be invested if that's not really done properly up front, or at least as part of the journey before you get to the point of having an application that you then find isn't useful for you.
Wanita, you're speaking at IIR's Clinical Training and Workforce Planning Summit on the 29th to 30th of August 2011 in Melbourne. What would be the focus of your presentation and what would you like delegates to gain from attending?
I guess for me, I'd really like to just try and give delegates an understanding of the journey that Queensland Health has taken here in terms of trying to bring together a statewide clinical placement system, some of the benefits that we've really noticed to date, even in bringing together different stakeholders, some of our key lessons learned, I guess, in terms of clinical placements across the country is a topical area, as is clinical training, and I know different states and jurisdictions are at different points on that journey, and if we can share something with another state or territory that will help them in their work, then we'd be more than happy to do that. So really I just kind of point people to key directions and things that we've learned along the way that potentially could help them in the future. And I guess also to get some feedback from the delegates in terms of their experiences in this journey as well, and where different people are up to, and any useful tips that we can take from them, because it's a forever ongoing learning process really for us here at the business. So we welcome any other outside views on how we could potentially refine or develop the approach we're taking as well here in the States.
Wanita Hutchinson, many thanks for your time today. Much appreciated.
Thank you.